All right, so hey, folks, welcome back to our day 15 of the virtual, but actually live Long Island Smart Growth Awards visits. We've been going to different communities across Long Island. We used to have a Long Island Smart Growth Awards with 900 people at the Crest Hollow Country Club. We have to have them now on site with interviews with our recipients and involved with the projects at their locations. So we've been to a lot of places. We've been to Village of Hempstead, we've been to the Village of Westbury, Village of Lynbrook, downtown Huntington. We've been to Inwood and Lawrence. We've been to Levittown, Greenport, Village of Port Jeff, Village of Seacliff, City of Long Beach, downtown Hicksville, Village of Lindenhurst, Village of Farmingdale for the Split the Bill program. We also went to Village of Garden City just most recently. So, but now it's actually very interesting. We are at the new Pink Tie Studios, just getting started there. But we're with our Regional Leadership Award honoree, Don Monte, who has done so much for advancing walkability, placemaking, and public participation in development. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So again, I'm Eric Alexander, Director of Vision Long Island, also founder of the Main Street Alliance. And to remind everybody, we have our virtual Smart Growth Awards on September 3rd at noon. So tune into that. We do have to thank our sponsors, First Equity Title, National Grid, Engel Berman, Concern for Independent Living, the H2M Group, Cameron Engineering, VHB, Mill Creek, Heartland, AT&T, GPI, Bartone and Twilliger, RXR, People's United Bank, and PSEG. Those are our major sponsors. We have a number of bronze sponsors too. We'll get that information out to folks. So thanks for participating in what is really important now through this coronavirus is to think through what are the strategies, the actions, and the projects and the individuals that are getting us through this economically and helping keep our communities together. And that really brings us to this award. Regional leadership is about really pulling together what we hear from communities and elevating it, taking it to another level. And this honoree this year is very special in the sense that 20 plus years, folks have been talking about smart growth, been talking about placemaking, but we didn't always have the ear of the development community. And really, about a dozen years ago, one of the first, really the first on Long Island developer that stepped forward was Don Monte. He had was just forming Renaissance Downtowns, and he was looking at his project in Glen Cove and trying to get public input, and looking at other downtown projects in which he merged in Hempstead and Huntington Station and out in Riverside, out in the town of Southampton. And those projects incorporated bottom-up public planning, the commitment to placemaking principles, and all the varying design guidelines that are important to creating great public space and mixed-use developments and some of the best practices. So he's been really working with us side by side. He's been at different summits and Smart Growth Awards events in the past as keynote speakers, but he's been an inspiration to us and really kind of a partner in arms, shall we say, to get the development community on board. We always can get the civic community, we can get the chambers, we can get the design community and other key stakeholders. But the development community was key to move. And so with that, Don Monte, I'd love to have you come up. He's with us today, and he's going to share a few things about his journey in supporting smart growth and downtown planning. So Don, come on down.
I'm extremely honored to be the recipient of this award, and I must admit I am a self-proclaimed recovered developer. And I will explain the meaning of that, so don't anybody get too nervous. By way of background, I started my career purchasing surplus schools many, many years ago. And in doing so, I purchased 14 closed public schools. And if anyone wants to know the definition of community emotion, then try being involved as a developer with a closed school. But it taught me a lot. And the first thing it taught me was to realize why on so many occasions my life was threatened, my car was stolen. These emotions run very high. And what I said to the community was, look, If not me, someone else. I did not make the decision to sell the school. And I said, what you get with me is you get me from day one in whatever takes place. And that resulted in me being 14 for 14 in rezonings for school properties. But I did it the old-fashioned way. I did it with knocking on doors and wearing out shoes. And what I am really happy to say is with the advent of technology, I still have the same shoes that I'm wearing for the last 3 years. I don't have to walk the streets anymore, but there is still involvement with community meetups. There is not only technology, it involves everything. But the important thing is that you go nowhere, and I mean nowhere, without entitlements. And entitlements, in my mind, result from community outreach. And Eric's organization for the last 20 years has demonstrated that. And I'm proud to be a part of this organization, and I'm proud to be a part of what Eric stands for. So in the end, it all comes down to one thing. Enter early with the community. Don't bring them in when it's too late, when the opposition forms because you didn't tell them what you were thinking of doing. They need to be part of the authorship of what happens. And when you do that, you end up getting as much, if not more, than what you originally asked for. And the reason is most people are reasonable. Just give them that opportunity early on, and I promise you, the successes on Long Island will continue. Thank you very much.
So, Don, we have this award here for you. I know it's not been easy. Public process isn't always easy, but you certainly should be recognized for what you do. You got successful projects coming forward in multiple communities, and even maybe talk a little bit about beyond Long Island. There's some thoughts in reference to this model you've created.
Well, I've taken this model to other parts of the country. Right now, I'm working in what we call the bookends, New York and California. And we're involved in a project out in the Southern California area that, if it comes to fruition, will be the largest suburban downtown redevelopment project in California and maybe the country. And it all comes down to the same thing. Community input, reach out early, do good, and you will do well. So economic development, let's talk about Long Island. This is my hometown, and proud to call it my hometown also, but we need to think about how we're going to come out of this pandemic, when, how, in what form, and I think there are certain advantages to being in the situation where downtown redevelopment, for the most part, needs to take place on land that is either underutilized or not developed on at all. And what this results in is when we figure out what the new norm is, and we're coming closer every day to that, but the new norm will determine how buildings get built. And I think I would, as a developer, much rather be in a situation where I'm building new to the new norm than trying to retrofit to existing conditions. So Long Island has that opportunity in probably 30 or 40 downtowns centered around transit. Lots has happened, lots more needs to happen, but when it happens, the advantage of building new in the new norm is something that cannot be taken too lightly. You know, we talk about single-family development versus a more concentrated transit-oriented development. And we're not saying one versus the other. We're saying balance. Everything in life is about balance. You need single-family homes. You need transit-oriented development. And why? Because people that want to be in downtowns that are walkable are your millennials and your boomers. Your boomers, kids are out of the house. They have really no place to go. A downtown is an alternative for them. And it's sort of like a cycle because the millennials, when they decide to raise a family, will position themselves in these single-family homes. So it's sort of like a circular motion, but it accomplishes two things. Boomers and millennials don't have to leave Long Island. They can stay here because Long Island is providing them what they want. It doesn't matter what we want as individuals. Municipalities, as much as I respect your decisions, you need to listen to the market. It's the market decisions that will keep people here on Long Island. And great things have happened, and great things need to continue to happen. So let's take conventional office space as an example. Where do companies want to be? Well, first of all, companies want to be where there's certainty. That's the most important thing. I was very involved in a group called the Site Selectors Guild, which is a national organization made up of companies that account for 85% of all corporate relocations in the country. And the one thing that they said is, you know what? If you have certainty where it's not going to take 3 to 5 years to get an approval with lawsuits and whatever, then that's the sort of the prerequisite for consideration. And if that can be done, then okay, now what's next? Next is, what is the new office going to be? Is it going to be the same as the old office? No. And we're wondering what the outcome of that will be. The two strongest asset classes during this pandemic have been residential and e-commerce. Now we talk about hotels, retail, office. That's all being figured out. But there will always be a place for offices. The question is where and how. So stay tuned. I don't have that answer. All I can say is that it's so important for Long Island to realize that the stock market, what do they like? Certainty? Well, so does the real estate development market want that too, certainty. So after my foray into purchasing schools, I had an epiphany one day, and that epiphany ended up in the formation of Renaissance Downtowns in 2008. And my commitment to triple bottom line development, social, environmental, and economic responsible development, is now part of my DNA.
Great to be with Don Monte today from Renaissance Downtowns and his good work. Great to hear certainly his vision of community input from the bottom up, which is so important to us, and that's why he's won a Regional Leadership Award today. So just to remind everybody, we have our Smart Growth Awards virtual program September 3rd at noon, so please, folks, tune in. Also, in addition, we just have to remind everybody who's out there, our Long Island downtowns are hurting, our small businesses in particular, so shop local, shop often, and really support these, particularly the independent small businesses in the downtowns. If you want them to be there through the winter, patronize them now. Thank you.